I'm Andrew, and I'm setting out to make better videos for diesel enthusiasts. Follow along as I review products, do how-tos, and share my personal trucks here on Just Diesels. All right, everyone, today is Long Arm Day. This is a day that I have been anticipating for quite some time on my third gen. I've documented the whole build on my YouTube channel, but today is gonna be very special. This is something I've been kind of resisting doing. We're throwing Carli long arms on the truck. So let's go to CJC, we're gonna dive in. I'm gonna show you guys everything about installing these, kind of why I went with these arms, and what I think of them. So let's get it going. So if you guys have been following along on the third gen build, I've actually documented pretty much every step of this truck, but in a previous video, we installed a Carli short arm Dominator system. That at the time was all I thought I wanted to do on the truck, but long arms just kept nagging at me. This is a 46,000 mile truck, all original, and I just felt really bad cutting the factory arm mounts off, and I could not bring myself to do it. But it's just been nagging and nagging and nagging at me. So finally I decided to bite the bullet and get it done. Now, for a lot of us, long arms are on that one-day list, right? They're not cheap, it's a pretty involved project, and it's something that a lot of third-gen people want to do because they improve the ride. So really quickly, as we're installing these, I kind of want to talk about why that actually happens. There's a ton of long arm kits on the market, and the goal with the long arm is basically to move the pivot point of the arms back, lengthen the arm, and what you're doing is two things, right? You're changing the leverage ratio of the arms, right? You're moving to a longer fulcrum point for the arms. That's going to be more effective at moving the suspension, but you're also dramatically changing the arm angle. With a short arm, as you're driving, a lot of the impact, especially from square edge hits, things like that, actually wants to transfer up the arm into the frame of the truck. And so your suspension isn't as effective at absorbing bumps. This is, again, most noticeable on square edge hits. Hitting like a sharp corner, driving over a curb, things like that, that's where you're really gonna feel this. With a long arm, you're able to change that whole design, the whole kinematics of the front end of the truck. And what you're able to do is basically make that front end able to absorb those impacts into the suspension and not have it transfer up the arm. I think at this point, the idea of long arms is pretty simple, right? But there's a million kits on the market. So why did I go with this one? Well, most long arm kits are just that, arms, right? It's an arm set that you put onto your truck, whether it's a tubular arm, a fabricated arm, you name it. There's a lot of kits out there at different price points. Carli kind of took a step back and said, what if we make a complete arm system? What I mean by that is it's not just the arms, right? Sure, the arms in this kit are really cool, hand fabricated arms. They're fully boxed, tubular construction with actually internal bracing inside of them. And the brackets bolt onto the frame. They actually index off of factory mounting points on the frame, so you have a turnkey solution. You're not trying to figure out where to weld the arm mounts on the frame and everything else. But what's really cool about this is actually that it's a complete package. So these arms don't just come with the arms. Obviously, you can buy just the arms alone, but ideally what you're gonna be doing is moving to a different rate coil. You're gonna be moving to a different spring rate on the coil. You're also moving to different shocks, longer brake lines, and a bunch of other small little pieces that are included in these kits. That's actually going to allow you to do what's really cool on this system is actually pull 2 inches more travel than a typical system. So typically Carli Thurin short arm systems, or like your typical long arm system, will pull about 10 inches of travel with a Carli or a Thurin coil. This system is actually able to pull 12 inches of travel. What's even cooler about that 12 inches is it's split exactly 50-50 between up travel and droop travel. So at ride height, you are sitting halfway through sag on those shocks. So you have 50% up, so 6 inches up, 6 inches droop. And that is the most ideal possible situation for ride quality. Basically, we're talking like trophy truck level engineering here to try and get the absolute best ride quality out of the truck. On the coil side of things, Carli chooses to use a progressive rate coil with a short arm system. And that makes sense, right? If you think about it, the arm is having a very hard time compressing at the initial point in the suspension. So with the progressive rate coil, you're having that softer rate up front initially to overcome that arm angle, but then as the arm angle flattens with short arms, suddenly you have an increase in leverage curve and you need that coil to ramp up to allow support on the truck. So the progressive rate coils make a lot of sense with the short arm application. With long arms, a linear rate coil makes a lot more sense, right? Because your kinematics, your leverage curve is going to stay the same or very similar through that arm travel. And in fact, on these systems, you'll notice that there's very little forward to rear axle shift as the suspension compresses and droops out. Through that full 12 inches of travel, it's an almost vertical path on the front end of the truck, which is not something you'll see out of short arms. On the shock side of things, Carli actually has a completely unique set of King shocks. Now you can get these in 2.5, 3.0, or 3.5 sizing. I went for the 3.0s, which would be called the Dominator shock package from Carli, but these actually have a completely unique tune for the long arms. And again, it makes sense, right? You can optimize it around having that 6 inches of up travel, 6 inches of droop travel, and you can optimize it around the leverage curve of the long arms, as well as the new spring rate of the linear rate coils up front. The rear shocks are actually different as well. So you might find it interesting, there's 4 shocks on here. I actually had to do the rear shocks as well to have everything match. And of course, I could have just ordered the fronts, but I figured, why not? Let's do everything together. And again, this makes sense, right? Because if you're truly valving these shocks custom, having the front end behave totally differently is going to impact the rear of the truck. It's going to make them interact differently. And so you're going to need a new rear shock tune to match the front shocks. Finally, the other little piece of the puzzle that is included in this kit is longer brake lines. They actually include them for front and rear on the truck, and these are a fully braided stainless brake line. Outside of anything else, I was actually just very excited to do these because these will improve the braking feel on the truck regardless of what you're running on suspension, as the factory lines are a soft rubber line. At this point, they're pretty old, and so these are really going to firm up pedal feel, but they're also going to allow enough droop travel that I can get that full 12 inches of travel out of the front end of the truck. Now, cutting the factory arm mounts off is a very, very difficult thing to watch, especially on a truck this clean, but I think in the end, it was all worth it. Driving home from CJC, I was absolutely blown away by the ride quality of the truck. And granted, this is literally the day after I put these on that I'm filming this. So this is my raw actual impressions, but I was smiling like a little kid driving down the freeway. I have not gotten this truck in the dirt yet, but I have smashed over a couple of curbs, and I could not believe how much smoother this truck is. Square edge hits, composure on the freeway, small chatter, things like that. All those places where short arms struggle, suddenly the truck just absolutely floats over everything. This is not a cheap upgrade, but I have to say, like, if you're doing long arms, if you want to go to that extent, it is so beyond worth it, and I wish I had done this sooner. That was literally the first thing I said as I got in my truck. I was like, man, why did I do this to start with? It is so much better, and it is a dramatic change on the truck. And of course, there is a lot of long arms on the market, but I'm very happy with this setup. The fit, the finish, the quality, everything else, these are seriously some top-notch arms. You look at these things and they're basically pieces of artwork. Like, I wish I could just have an extra set to put on my coffee table at home or hang on the wall. Like, they're that beautiful to look at. And I think the whole package together really works on this truck. And speaking of package, one other thing I spent a lot of time figuring out was the wheel and tire specs, because long arms notoriously will actually limit your steering travel because you're running the tire into that arm. So I spent a lot of time researching and designing when I made these Foundation 395 HD wheels with this long arm upgrade in mind. If you run the zero offset spec of the 18x9 Foundation 395 HD with a 37 12.5 tire, you will have no contact on the arms at all at full steering lock. I'm running a 13.5 Nitto Ridge Grappler, and so I will just barely kiss the arms at absolute full steering lock. But other than that, I have no contact. So it's a completely drivable, awesome truck. And I very much designed these wheels with this setup in mind, which made it very cool. So if you're looking for a setup that works with long arms well, that's gonna be it. I opted for a full polished wheel this time around. This was custom done, but something I might try and offer in the future. I absolutely love how these look on the truck. I had polished wheels on this truck before. I swapped to bronze. I've gone back and forth a couple of times, and it's fun to mix it up, but something about the polished kind of monotone look on this truck brings out some of the little chrome accents on the truck, and everything just flows together, and it looks so nice, especially with the long arms peeking out underneath it. So I promise I will do a more in-depth video, maybe doing some stuff off-road with this truck, showing off what these long arms can do. But I just was so excited to finally check this off the list on this truck. Again, this is literally a dream thing for me. I've been scheming of this for literally like probably 5 years or more, trying to do long arms on this truck. And I'm so excited that it finally happened. So shout out to the guys at CJC Off-Road for making it happen. And it was so cool to watch these arms actually get built. Mike over at Carli was actually sending me videos and pictures of these arms getting built. And I included that in this video, and it's so cool to see that from end to end and now see them installed on the truck. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you on the next video and the next update build series on this truck.